The Horn of Africa stands on edge. Once more, the long and troubled relationship between Eritrea and Ethiopia is fraught with tension. A fragile peace, established in 2018, is threatened by historical grievances, political maneuvering, and a backdrop of regional instability. The international community watches with bated breath, wary of a potential conflict that could engulf the region. At the heart of this brewing storm lies a complex web of factors that have reignited old animosities and fueled new anxieties. The recent escalation of tensions between these two East African nations has raised alarms across the globe. After a brief period of rapprochement, the relationship has taken a turn for the worse. Both countries have engaged in a war of words, accusing each other of hostile actions and intentions. Military maneuvers along their shared border have further heightened fears of a return to open conflict. The situation is precarious, demanding careful analysis and proactive diplomacy to avert disaster. Several key issues underpin the current crisis. Eritrea's exclusion from the Pretoria Agreement, a landmark deal that ended the Tigray conflict in Ethiopia, has been a major point of contention. This exclusion has fueled a sense of resentment in Asmara, leading to accusations that Ethiopia is sidelining Eritrea in regional affairs. Simultaneously, Ethiopia's growing maritime ambitions, evidenced by its pursuit of port access agreements with neighboring countries, have sparked concern in Eritrea. Asmara sees these moves as a direct threat to its own strategic interests and regional influence. The situation is further complicated by the legacy of the 1998 to 2000 border war between the two countries. This conflict, sparked by a seemingly minor border dispute, resulted in tens of thousands of casualties and left deep scars on both societies. While a peace agreement was signed in 2000, key aspects of the deal, including the demarcation of the border, remain unimplemented. This lingering uncertainty has created fertile ground for mistrust and suspicion, hindering efforts to normalize relations. The recent escalation of tensions is a stark reminder of the fragility of peace in the region and the urgent need for a comprehensive and sustainable solution. The Pretoria Agreement, signed in November 2022, was hailed as a major breakthrough in ending the brutal two-year conflict in Ethiopia's Tigray region. This agreement, brokered by the African Union, aimed to silence the guns and pave the way for a lasting peace. However, the exclusion of Eritrea from the negotiation table has inadvertently thrown gasoline on the smoldering embers of its rivalry with Ethiopia. This omission has been a bitter pill for Asmara to swallow, feeding a narrative of betrayal and fueling suspicions about Addis Abeba's true intentions. Eritrea, a key military ally of Ethiopia during the Tigray conflict, played a significant role in the Ethiopian government's campaign against the Tigray People's Liberation Front, or TPLF. Eritrean troops crossed the border into Tigray, engaging in fierce fighting that resulted in widespread reports of human rights abuses. Despite its involvement, Eritrea was not invited to participate in the peace talks that led to the Pretoria Agreement. This exclusion has been interpreted by Asmara as a deliberate snub, deepening its sense of isolation and resentment. The exclusion of Eritrea from the Pretoria Agreement has had far-reaching consequences. Firstly, it has exacerbated the existing mistrust between Asmara and Addis Ababa. Eritrea feels sidelined and betrayed by its former ally, viewing the agreement as an attempt to marginalize its influence in the region. This sentiment has manifested in a more assertive Eritrean foreign policy, characterized by a willingness to challenge Ethiopia's regional ambitions. Secondly, the exclusion of Eritrea has created a security vacuum in Tigray. With no formal mechanism for Eritrean withdrawal from the region, Eritrean troops remain present in parts of Tigray, fueling instability and hindering efforts to rebuild and reconcile. The continued presence of these troops has been a source of tension with the Tigrayan leadership, and has been linked to ongoing human rights violations. This situation poses a significant obstacle to achieving a lasting peace in Tigray, and risks reigniting the conflict. The international community must recognize the unintended consequences of excluding Eritrea from the peace process and work towards a more inclusive approach that addresses Asmara's security concerns. Adding fuel to the fire are Ethiopia's maritime ambitions. Landlocked since 1993, Ethiopia has been actively seeking alternative sea access routes, engaging in negotiations with neighboring countries like Somaliland to secure port facilities. While this pursuit is understandable given Ethiopia's economic aspirations, it has been met with suspicion and resistance from Eritrea, Asmara perceives these moves as a direct challenge to its own strategic interests, particularly its control over the Red Sea coastline. Eritrea views the Red Sea as its backyard, and any attempt by Ethiopia to establish a presence in the region as a threat to its national security. This perception is rooted in historical grievances, including Ethiopia's annexation of Eritrea in 1962, which denied Eritrea its coastline. The unresolved border dispute between the two countries further complicates the situation, with both sides claiming sovereignty over strategic areas along the Red Sea. The convergence of Ethiopia's maritime ambitions and the unresolved border disputes has created a volatile cocktail in the Horn of Africa. Eritrea's deep-seated mistrust of Ethiopia, coupled with its determination to safeguard its strategic interests, makes it highly sensitive to any perceived encroachment by its neighbor. This sensitivity is heightened by Eritrea's perception that Ethiopia is attempting to isolate it diplomatically and economically. Ethiopia's pursuit of alternative sea access routes, while understandable, has inadvertently played into Eritrea's insecurities. The lack of transparency and consultation with Asmara has fueled suspicions and exacerbated tensions. To mitigate the risk of further escalation, it is crucial for Ethiopia to engage in dialogue with Eritrea, addressing Asmara's concerns and exploring mutually beneficial arrangements. A failure to do so could have disastrous consequences, not only for Eritrea and Ethiopia, but for the entire Horn of Africa. The Tigray region, nestled within Ethiopia but bordering Eritrea, remains a powder keg. Scarred by the recent conflict and grappling with internal divisions, it stands as a testament to the fragility of peace in the region. The presence of Eritrean troops on Tigrayan soil, coupled with the unresolved issues stemming from the Pretoria Agreement, casts a long shadow over any prospects for lasting stability. The international community faces a daunting task in navigating the complexities of this volatile situation. The Tigray conflict has had a devastating impact on the region, resulting in widespread human suffering and displacement. The withdrawal of Eritrean troops is crucial to creating a conducive environment for peace-building and reconciliation. However, achieving this goal requires addressing Eritrea's security concerns and finding a face-saving way for Asmara to withdraw its forces. The future of Eritrea-Ethiopia relations hangs precariously in the balance. The path ahead is fraught with challenges, but also presents opportunities for dialogue, reconciliation, and cooperation. The international community has a crucial role to play in facilitating this process. Dialogue, underpinned by mutual respect and a genuine desire to address legitimate concerns, is the only way forward. Failure to seize this opportunity could have dire consequences, not only for Eritrea and Ethiopia, but for the wider Horn of Africa region. The stakes are incredibly high. The current tensions between Eritrea and Ethiopia threaten to unravel the fragile peace in the region, with the potential to escalate into a full-blown conflict. The humanitarian consequences of such a scenario would be catastrophic. The international community must act decisively to prevent this from happening. A failure to do so would be a betrayal of the people of Eritrea and Ethiopia, who deserve a future free from conflict and instability.